But I don't think there's any sign yet that Labor has answered or attempted to answer two fundamental questions about the last 6 years. They are what went wrong and how can we ensure that that never happens again. And perhaps this willful blindness is because to do that means that they have to face some shocking political facts, a shocking political failure. And just to re-emphasise what Aaron said, cast your mind back to the coalition launch in 2007. There, the Lord Mayor of Brisbane welcomed the Crown. After that election, he was the leading Liberal figure in Australia. There were Labor governments from coast to coast. Kevin Rudd was one of the most popular new leaders in post-war federal history. Now, just 6 years on, there are only 2 Labor state governments left. The party's been all but wiped off the electoral map in Queensland and New South Wales. By the end of next year, it's a fair bet that South Australia and Tasmania will have fallen. And so Katie Gallagher, in the bastion of the ACT, will be the Campbell-Newman for Labor. Now that is a bewildering turnaround in a very short period of time, and achieving that is not simply bad luck or bad media, it is bad culture, bad management and bad government. Now one theory doing the rounds in Labor is that federally it was a good government, but it just failed to get its politics right, or it failed to get its message right. So maybe the answer to Labor's problems over the last years is so painful that true believers just can't face it. It reminds me of when I studied the Gospel of Mark in 1980, and the Gospel of Mark was undergoing something of a resurgence at that stage. It was in the past considered to be a very rough document. The Greek in it was bad. The Christ figure who appears in it is always on the road to the cross. He's a grim, grim figure. And every time he tells his disciples that if you follow me, that means I'm going to die, and you're going to die too, they just don't get it. And the Canadian Jesuit Bernard Lonergan developed a term for this. He called it scotosis, and that is an unwillingness to learn through painful insights, a kind of intellectual blindness. And at this stage, I think the Labor Party is suffering scotosis. It has an intellectual blindness to what happened in the past. Maybe Labor needs to relearn what it learned after 1975. And after 1975, in the early 80s, I interviewed Bob McMullen, who was for some period of time the Federal Secretary of the Labor Party. After 1975, the party recognised that it had to do a number of things. It had to get the economics of government right. But it also had to work out how it took great ideas, and the party did and does have great ideas, and turn them from policy into practice to get the governance right. And I think part of Labor's problem, that was despite 11 years in the wilderness this time, it has not properly learned how to govern.